All right, so we are here tonight doing an impromptu video, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering where the heck did this video come from because Wildstorm Addiction doesn't post videos anymore, which is kind of true, kind of not true. It's just I don't post them very often, sometimes well over a year, I think it's been since the last video. But life and having a kid and my co-host Ben can't be with us tonight because he has three kids, and so he's a lot more busy and actually on a vacation. And so I reached out to longtime friend and fellow Wildstorm fan Chris Striker, um, who we were actually just chatting before we started the recording. That some of y'all might remember Chris from way back in the Wildstorm message boards when they were separate and had their own, website separate from DC Comics and everything was separate. um, so welcome, Chris. So we were just,
Well, thanks for having me, Joe. Always a pleasure to come by and talk about Wildstorm stuff, especially now that, it's kind of back with, Engineer being a new Superman, potentially new Authority movie, which, my God, even way back during the boards, I never thought we would see the day where it's even announced,
hmm
There's still, no real news on it, but still, the fact that they said they want to do it, I never thought I'd see that day.
Oh yeah, for sure. And for those of you who don't know, Chris Stryker used to run a website called the Higher Authority, right? That's what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah, it originally was a higher authority on on GeoCities,
Oh my gosh.
and then it grew, and so I put it on its own domain, which was I think the higher authority dot ws,
Oh yeah, I remember the WS.
which is long gone now, but still but yeah, it started on GeoCities as a kind of a pet project, and it grew from there.
Yeah, because I mean, you were the go-to for the authority, when I first started getting into Wildstorm and stuff, and um, like we were still on the boards whenever World's End was happening, and we didn't realize that was the literally the end for Wildstorm, and Ben and I were running the Wildstorm Resource Wiki. So just all that to say that, we're trying to say that we are more than qualified, at least in our minds, to talk about this subject matter tonight. Because, as sure a lot of you have gone out to see Superman. Me and my wife got to see it on Tuesday night with the Amazon Prime early showing, and then Chris got to see it on Friday. He said, and obviously everybody's given their reviews. I've listened to a ton of reviews. I have my own opinions about the movie. I don't really want to get too much into the actual movie. There is going to be spoilers, I'm sure, but this being a Wildstorm channel and this being the first official live action character on screen that originated in Wildstorm, we were like, well, let's at least talk about like what was her portrayal like, because uh, as Chris was saying, I too was shocked when I saw James Gunn, lay out the Authority as one of his planned movies, which right now all I understand is that it's been delayed because he wasn't happy with the script, which I'm all for it. I don't want him to rush it out, So if they want to take their time, go for it.
Yeah, I was disappointed about that, but Shane was like, "Well, I want it to be good." You know, as much of a fan as I was, and of the comic, I want it to be good because like I said, I never thought it would happen, and now that it may happen, I want it to be as good as much as I've imagined. And we talked about it on the boards relentlessly. Casting what book they should go with and all that. So we've spent, I don't know, pages and pages on pages of just chatting back and forth on the old boards with all the other folks on there. So we have our opinions, what we think they should do.
Comic fans with opinions, never. I don't know
No,
what you're talking about. I don't
no,
know what.
This
I
is a
don't,
first. This
I
is
don't.
we're breaking new ground here with having our own opinions and being comic book fans.
Yeah, I don't know what internet you're on, but you know. But you know, we'll see later in post production. We'll use those fancy words if I even add pictures and stuff. But I will at least mention. I hope I say her name right. Maria Gabriela de Faria is the engineer in Superman, and so this is like we were saying the first time we're seeing any Wildstorm character in live action. Of course, we've had some animated adaptations that have done Wildstorm characters like the Wildcats cartoon from the 90s, and Grifter made an appearance in Flashpoint movie, animated movie. Um, so I guess we can start just to kind of talk a little about her scenes. You know, she has, you know, very limited scenes. She has two main battles, obviously, but I think when I messaged you about this, you made a pretty good observation about the way she was portrayed. So I don't know if you want to just jump into that, or you want to
Sure.
talk about a little bit about what's the engineer like in the comics.
Well, I think that will go with my observations between what was on screen and what what we knew of the character, in the comics. So, let's go and start with her in the comics. So, you know, uh, she was the second engineer in the comic books. So we had Engineer One, which was in the Change or Die storyline, which still one of my favorite stories. And then upon his death, he transferred his technology to her, and she became the second engineer. And the one thing that I kind of liked about her character, she was like this, which kind of was different from the movie's portrayal, but she was like somebody who loved being a superhero, having these powers, doing all these great things, and kind of like one of us, comic book geeks, if we ever got superpowers, such as that, nanotechnology and all that, we, would super geek out about that. And that was kind of her character, at least through the Ellis arc. Miller did his own take on his more political stuff. So I want to concentrate more on her personality from the Ellis run 1 through 12. So super geeking out about having these powers, doing these great things, and then you see Angela Spica on the Superman movie, who's a complete 180 to the character in the comic books. Very angry or vengeful. I don't know, because they hint to she does not like Superman, and I think in there they said, she's doing this because of something he did or he represents. So there's a little bit of history, unknown history there, that would speak to why she feels the way she did. And maybe that's something they will kind of flesh out in the Authority movie or not. I don't know, but she's you know uh, I don't know, just angry, and doesn't have that lightness to her that she did in the comic book. I think she was kind of our entry into that comic book world for the Authority. You know, um, now the costume. And I think I spoke to you this in message. I didn't have a problem with the costume. I know some people did because, it's not really comic book accurate, but I see potential, and this is my own opinion. I have no insight on this as being a comic book nerd, but I think they couldn't go comic accurate because they have the female Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four, and really they are very the costumes are very similar, very that silvery mirror like costume, if you will. So I think they kind of had to do something a little bit different. So you didn't, especially with them, coming out within a week of each other? Because I think Superman comes out this
Yeah,
week, and then is it
two
next
weeks
week?
from now.
2 weeks from now, Fantastic Four comes out. So
Yeah,
but
I was thinking about that because James Gunn made a post for Rachel Brosnahan's birthday, and he said, "You've been our Lois Lane for 2 years. Now you're everybody's Lois Lane," or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh man, they've been working on this for that long. Because I was thinking about what you said. I was like, would they have even considered that, when they
Well, I
were
mean, we
designing the movie?
you'd have to go back and see when they announced the female Silver Surfer, because that has been announced a while. I don't know, maybe a year ago or a few years ago. I don't remember. So, you know,
Yeah.
this is my own opinion. I did not do any research for this, but
Yeah.
that's kind of my opinion. So maybe, or maybe not.
Well,
You
I
never
mean,
know. Who knows what in Hollywood is on the back end.
well, that history you just dumped about the engineer is exactly why I needed you on here tonight, because I didn't remember any of that.
Really?
It's
Oh
been
man, yeah.
so long. It's been so long. And I'm not gonna lie, the Authority was never my favorite team at all. Like
Oh,
at
how dare
first,
you?
yeah,
How
I first,
dare you? How
oh
can we be
dude,
friends?
I'm Wildcats ride or
Oh, I
die.
know.
I'm sorry, man.
That's fine.
Grifter all the way for me. But it's just
Really,
when when
I never noticed in your name, your handle, never mentioned
yeah,
it,
I
never
know,
talked
right?
about it.
But but yeah, it's so funny because for me, the way that I experienced the Authority, even as they were being introduced in the comics and went forward, it honestly wasn't until almost the end of Wildstorm that I appreciated them more. But I kind of looked at them the way that I feel like they were being looked at in universe. Like a lot of people were like, oh, what a bunch of jerks, like what are they doing? And then I was like, the natural progression of the story, like when they finally took over the US, I was like, okay, that makes sense for them. Like, and I
Yeah,
think that's why, funny enough, I think that's when I started getting more interested in them because I was like, okay, they are kind of treating them like that, well, the Authority, like they're it's what they say goes, and if they take over, they can control more, and so I think, like I said, that's what I liked about that, and like what you're saying here about her in the movie. Um, she really she really was portrayed kind of the way I was expecting her, especially when I saw the power set was visually changed. I thought, okay, there's a lot of characters in this movie to begin with, right? And now having seen it, there's definitely the standouts and people who didn't get as much screen time. And she did get a good amount of screen time, but it was mainly because she was around Lex Luthor and she was part of that group. But she really only said one line that I remembered, that it was like, something about, this better be worth it, Luther. I give up my humanity for this, or something like that. And that was like the only insight into her character. And I think it was right before she plugged into the Fortress of Solitude computer. Do you remember that?
yes, yeah. I do remember that line, which also kind of speaks to maybe how they changed her background,
Hmm.
because it kind of set off a bunch of canon in my head, like, well, because of the Authority, how what are they going to change about that?
Hmm.
Such as Apollo Midnighter, Jack Hawksmoor. Really, the Doctor is easy enough to do because his origin is, when the one Doctor dies, another Doctor is chosen, and then
Hmm.
there's Jenny Sparks, spirit of the 21st, 20th, whatever century, 21st century.
Yeah.
Well, she was originally the book 20th century, and then now because she just had a mini series what last year,
Oh
or
yeah, but I haven't
which,
I
and
haven't heard really good things about it though.
I just read it. And yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't know,
But
the tone of the character just felt off to me. Um, I don't know.
you're talking about
That's
you're talking, yeah, I
the
was about to say, you're talking about Jenny, or you're talking about the engineer?
a little bit, but no, mostly
Yeah.
the Jenny Sparks. Her, it just didn't feel like that character. I mean, sure, there's aspects of it, but I don't know, that Jenny just felt a little bit off. But I did like. Did you read it at all?
No, I only
Okay,
like went
well,
through the first issue and I was just like, no, I already see
okay.
where this is going.
I'll go with a little tangent. I did like the idea of her being she polices the superheroes in case they go rogue. She's I was like,
Hmm.
all right, I dig the idea.
Yeah, so basically the authority.
Yeah, basically, but just a one person authority. But
Yeah.
the six issue miniseries I didn't really care for. But you know,
Yeah.
sorry. Let's go
But
back to
oh no, no, that's fine. I mean, yeah, like I said, I kind of was expecting them to not really give her too much in this movie, and that, like I said, that one line was the only thing that stuck out that she said. Some of the reviews, I was like, seeing that she referred to Superman as an it, just like Lex Luthor did. So,
mhm.
so she was totally sold, and obviously being on Luthor's team, she was totally sold on this idea of Superman being the outsider and the alien, and yet at the same time, she allowed, I'm assuming Luthor in this continuity, to do this to her, and so the nanites are still there. They're just presented visually different. And it could also have been an aesthetic choice. Like you're saying, yeah, it totally could be the liquid metal and all that. They didn't want to go that route. Because I will say, like in the second fight, when they start crawling into Superman, it did look pretty freaky. And I was trying to like replay that in my head of like how to look as liquid metal, you know. Um,
Well, because I was thinking, well, how if they went with the original, I was thinking of the liquid metal in the Matrix when he touches the mirror. I was like, oh, that would have been because even that, if they went with that visual, that would be kind of freaky as well. But
Yeah, but she
uh,
she did have two standout battle. Well, one was really a slaughter because when she went into the Fortress of Solitude and took out all the robots and everything, and Crypto got a good hit on her, and
yeah,
that's where we clearly saw that the nanites they're all under her, of course. They're
in their bloodstream,
yeah,
just like the comics.
yeah. So that's why it was hard to like completely be like against her portrayal, even the physical or the physical difference, because I was really surprised at how much they still kept. Like there was at least two scenes where she did the shape shifting of her hands into the guns, and I feel like both of those images were straight out of the comic.
Yep, that's the first thing. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
because that reminded me of the last arc, Elsa's last arc, where she's in Africa fighting the terraforming aliens, or whatever that was. But yeah,
See,
um,
again, you remember so much more than I do when it comes to that run, but
uh,
so then
that was my job. So you know,
and you loved it.
I
And you
oh
said
god, did I love it?
it. But yeah, if they're going to change up her character, which obviously I guess they did, in your saying that in the comic she was portrayed much differently, and in essence here she's showing that she agrees with Luthor, right? And even Superman was trying to appeal to her in that second fight, and of course got interrupted by Ultraman. But I don't know that I didn't remember seeing. I've only seen it once, so I really wish I could see it a second time, but I don't think it's going to happen, just because of life and kid and
Yeah,
all that stuff. But uh, I don't remember her like looking at him and like thinking, oh, maybe she is going to change her mind now. So I don't remember anything like that. And then of course at the end she gets knocked out and left in the sewer. Whenever they do that dive bomb move that takes her out and
yeah, and
Ultraman.
also I don't remember. Well, I've seen it the once too, but I don't remember seeing her after that.
No, yeah, that's the last we see. She's knocked out in the sewer. So
Right.
it was like, okay, I was trying to think if this is where they're going with her, and we do have an authority movie coming, even if they're not happy with the current script, what would that mean, that they would change the whole authority to where is she convincing them that, yeah, we need to get rid of Superman and everybody else, basically like it,
Okay, so my thought, let me just go on a quick tangent of my head canon. I was thinking about it is because at the end, Lex's master plan. I don't want to spoil it too much for those
oh,
that
you
have seen
just know that we already warned people
it. I
spoilers,
know.
so
I
yeah.
just unless I have to, I will. But at the end, Lex Luthor's master plan is revealed to the world, and I imagine she's like, oh well, shoot, I've been duped by this maniac who just used me for his petty vengeance against this guy. Maybe everything I thought was wrong.
Hmm.
So maybe that's her turning point. She's like, well, I I sold my life for somebody else's ambition,
Yeah.
and maybe Superman wasn't the enemy. I was sold, and that's her arc. I don't know. Again, we're left with such limited time with the character, and she's just kind of when she's defeated after the second fight, we don't see her after that because at the end they're all those people are being taken out to jail, blah blah blah, and you don't see her at all.
Yeah. No, I just would assume that she escaped or something. So,
Yeah, or
um,
somebody doored in and said, "Hey, come with me."
yeah, I was, obviously there was a plot point about, portals and pocket universes and stuff that's already been introduced, like in the Peacemaker series of all things, that introduced that idea. Um, but
Oh,
yeah,
you're talking about multi-dimensional portals?
yeah, the little pocket universes and stuff,
Yeah.
like where his dad kept all his her equipment.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. From
but
season one. I thought you were talking about
yeah.
the trailer for season two, where they were, you know,
Well,
uh,
I'm assuming they're gonna kind of build on that,
yeah.
but obviously was showing that Lex had that series of teleporters
All right.
and
So, sorry, I want to go another tangent with those teleporters. When you saw them,
uh-huh.
and you saw them go open up one portal, go through this pocket universe, and go through another portal and go somewhere else, did you not think, or did it? Maybe it was just me. Team Achilles, the way they did their teleporter. Now they didn't have like
Oh,
teleporters stashed all over the place. They had the one
hmm,
teleporter. It opened up a teleport in the dead Earth, then opened up another one like 10 feet away, and they popped up anywhere. When I saw that, I was
yeah.
like, that's a I don't know if that's a reference to Team Achilles, but that was the first thing that popped into my head about that.
Yeah.
I was like,
See,
that's pretty
again,
cool.
completely forgot about that. So that's yeah, dude, as time goes by, unless I try to reread some of this stuff, and with the
Yeah.
wiki gone, that was my cheat sheet. So,
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. There's a ton of stuff that I've forgotten about from
I
other
mean,
books. But yeah, like people say with Gen 13 or with Wildcats right now, I don't remember. But
yeah,
for some reason,
it also depends on when it came out too, like if it's stuff from the 90s,
oh
like
yeah,
like I'll give you an example. I know that I love the latter half of those first 50 Wildcat issues because they were so different. They were jumping through time and all that stuff.
was
But could I
that the Alan Moore stuff?
no, beyond that. I'm talking
Oh, okay.
about like I think Jeff Marriott wrote those where they were just jumping through time. It was like the one that went through Rome because there's like Grifter on the cover fighting a lion and things like
Okay,
that. It's
that
that's it.
would be a dark spot in my memory because I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like even those, as much as I remember loving them, but I couldn't tell you like bit per bit what happened. Like I probably could tell you in the first four issues of Wildcats.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it was just it's one of those where I'm like, okay, if they have an idea for a script, like, is it just that the whole thing is not good, or is it just like they like the idea, but whoever was writing it, didn't do it well? That's
Well,
what I'm wondering.
he said he wanted to base it off the first trade paperback of the Authority, which has two stories: the Circle and Sliding Albion,
Oh, that would be fun to see.
or how you pronounce that.
Yeah.
So I would say the Circle was not the best because of Kazin Gamora, who has a lot of history
Hmm.
with within the Wildstorm universe. I mean, deep lore, like going back, from almost the beginning.
Hmm.
So he'd be kind of a hard character to kind of introduce flat. Also, the whole Fu Manchu, old school Fu Manchu get up that went along with it would probably not play today
Yeah.
in today's age. I was more thinking, and I don't know if we debated this on the new Wildstorm group, but I was thinking combined Circle and Sliding Albion
Hmm.
because then I think that would fit because then you have an alternate Earth, and maybe instead of, well, maybe they do shift and genetically modified superhumans to invade our universe. I
Hmm.
mean, that would, I think you could definitely marry those two together and come up with a good movie. My guess is what maybe the hard part is putting in the in the DC universe,
Hmm.
because you have a lot of, because they've also established this universe as being a lived in universe. So these characters have been around for a while, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you have a hard time fitting in here without giving thought to what just happened in the Superman movie. So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you brought up Sliding Albion. I do remember those people. I think that was such a fun visual. I mean, the other one was too, but you know, with the blue skin and all that. I feel like James Gunn kind of did that a little bit in Guardians 2. Is that where the one with the gold skin, the
oh
one
yes,
where Adam Warlock comes from? Yeah.
Guardians
Two, well, they're
two,
introduced at the beginning of 2, but then they resolve it in 3.
correct, yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, that kind of that same idea that, you know,
yeah,
big
but the blue
blood.
was really bad. Much more terrible than the gold folks in Guardians.
Yeah,
Which
but
again, also you have to fit that tonally into. Well, I don't know, because I don't know what kind of, if they're gonna have like uniform, like a uniform tone, or if they're gonna be every
oh,
movie
they're
is gonna be a
not.
little. They're not.
They already said they're not because they said Clayface is going to be a straight up horror movie, and
Oh, yeah, because
yeah,
I think it's gonna be like a body horror movie, which I'm like, that would be interesting to watch. So okay,
yeah, yeah. I think I heard another reviewer say this. They were like, it's almost like James Gunn is treating it more like the comics in the sense that if like the tone of Superman would not work in the Clayface movies, like don't do it. Like make Clayface a
okay,
horror movie, you know, like and I was like, okay, yeah,
because
that's a cool approach.
the way I see it is, in the way Ellis and Hitch portrayed it. Why it's why kind of it dominated or kind of caught on back in what 99 to early
Hmm.
2000s, because it was so different. The whole widescreen action. It kind of revitalized a little bit of some of the way comic books are made for, I don't know, for a decade maybe.
Hmm.
And so I'm thinking that the Authority would be akin to a Michael Bay action film. Widescreen, lots of explosions, light on plot. Because really, I went back and reread the first 12 issues of the Authority when they announced it. And I was like, I thought this was a little deeper than it is. Like, this is pretty light on plot. I'm like, man, decades, give you perspective on stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, that might
So
work.
yeah, it might be just a kind of an old school '80s over the top action film. Who knows?
Oh,
And
here's an interesting point though, or that I thought of, because we know, you know, that Apollo and Midnighter are supposed to be analogous, is that the word, to Superman and Batman? Uh,
yes, yeah,
so that,
homages
yeah.
or
So
homages.
would he is part of the problem? Maybe I know he says he's struggling to decide how to introduce Batman into this universe or the first film, whatever. So would you have to have Batman first, a Batman film of some kind first, so people will get what oh, this is what Apollo and Midnighter are talking about? Or do you think it would?
No, well, not for most comic book fans. I think they know who Batman is, and they know this
Yeah,
is,
but what
because I
about the
think with
general?
Apollo and Midnight, they go, okay, here's Apollo. He's like Superman. This
Mhm.
guy must be like Batman.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
what about the general audience though? Like they're the ones that I think are helping this movie because they're not just comic fans. Like heck, my dad loved Superman, and I was ready for him to not like it because I never know what he's gonna like because
Yeah.
he's a guy that he loves, like you just mentioned, the '80s action movies. He loves stuff like that. So he loved it, and I'm like, oh crap, like that to me was a good testament of this. That I'm like, he's the one that we need to reach because the comic book fans, yes, but it's the general public that needs to like this movie too.
Yeah, I mean, you probably just have a throwaway line where, you know, they're saving people, and one of them calls him Batman. Who knows? I mean, there's ways around it. I think they can make regardless, it'll be a good. It's a funny throwaway line they could put in there too if it goes out before Brave and the Bold come out, which I think I don't know. Since Authority's delayed, it may come out after. It's a moot point.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I know that let's say because they delayed that one, then they have Batman. Um, Gosh, I lost my train of thought because I was going to say something else about that. Like, what would the general audience need to know before? Uh, oh, I know what it was. I'm pretty sure it was that comic. Uh, was it just simply called Superman and the Authority? It was like a four-issue miniseries.
yes,
Um,
I
I
think it was
think,
I think it was 4 issue
yeah,
miniseries and
yeah,
like a one shot.
yeah. But I think it was in that one that they showed that, like, obviously in a world where Superman and Apollo and Midnight all exist together already. I'm pretty sure they portrayed Apollo as like a mega fan for Superman.
Yes.
So that I assume could also be an aspect that it's like, well, you are kind of like a Superman yourself, but you're fanboying over the real Superman. That might make, if they go with kind of James Gunn's little comedic approach, that might be a little funny, uh, but yeah, obviously Superman's already out, so and they've played around with Superman's age. I don't know how old David Cornsweet is in real life, but he looks young on screen, so it's
Yeah.
like everybody has to be young or younger to match. It'd be interesting to see if they take that into consideration when they start casting.
Well, I think they said Batman was going to be older than Superman because he had been around for a while.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
that
I don't know.
cameo in Creature Command was the where you couldn't really see him, but you knew it was Batman,
Yeah.
unless you
Oh,
watched it.
the Future Vision, I think, where they saw all the
Yeah,
superheroes dead.
no, no, no. It was no, no. It was a current. Like they what? It's an episode of Creature Commandos. He's like you see him. It's like a classic Batman shot. You see him in the skylight, like the lightning
Oh,
flashes and
when they were doing Professor Phosphorus's
yeah,
origin story.
yeah,
Okay, I think I know
yeah.
what you're talking about.
Because James Gunn said he's like I knew we needed to show him, but we couldn't show him.
Yeah.
So
So a silhouette will do.
yeah. But it'll be fun to go back whenever they finally pick the actor. You're like, oh my God, it's so and so,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, overall, I was a little torn about the movie, but I like that people seem to be enjoying, and that was in
Yeah.
the end. I'm like, if it brings new people into Superman, so be it.
So I don't know if you caught this because it was super fast with the engineer because in the engineer she has the bodysuit whatever and she has her hair is all braided, which I think is kind of to mimic the wire braids that she had in the comic books.
Hmm.
But it's kind of hard to see. It's really fast. They do give her a crown a little bit like they do in the comic. Did you catch that?
Oh, yeah, it's when she's plugged into the Fortress of Solitude computer.
Right, and yeah, and also when she's fighting for a little bit, you see like the little crown kind of on the back. It's
Hmm.
super fast, but I was like, oh, okay, there's the crown a little bit. Do I see the wire hair? No, but we all can't get what we want. So
Yeah.
they kind of did a little bit nods here and there to the costume, which again I don't have a problem with. Because again, also it's what she had with Luther's. They can change it. When the Authority comes out, when she gets a new outlook on life.
I know, right? Yeah, there's absolutely no reason that they couldn't change the look for the Authority, or maybe find a way to combine the two somehow.
And I know I mentioned it in our message together, but when Luther proposed Planet Watch, did your mind go straight to Stormwatch?
No,
Because
believe it
mine did.
believe it or not, it didn't, but I can see that.
Okay, just me then.
Yeah, no, I mean I see obviously the same ending word watch, which shows how rusty my mind is with all the Wildstorm stuff that it didn't go straight there.
Oh, that's fine.
But what? I think we'd probably start wrapping it up if you want, but I was going to say, what apart from the authority, and you can either do this as wish fulfillment or you could do it like justifying based what they've already laid out. Besides the authority, what other Wildstorm idea or characters do you think would work pretty soon after seeing Superman and the way they've set it up?
Um. Okay, so the authority. I don't think they're going to do the authority in the traditional way where they have a Stormwatch, it get destroyed. Their Black Ops team is what's left, and they have a, blah 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 blah. So I think that's kind of scrapped, and I think the whole Planet Watch leading the Stormwatch is, again, that's my wish fulfillment. I would love to see that, but I was thinking, and I was kind of talking with my buddy Tim, like maybe they do a Team Achilles or Stormwatch Team Achilles or Team Stormwatch PhD Post Human Division type of team, where the military or slash local law enforcement, whichever, probably more the military, build their own like kind of team to combat superheroes, and they have General Flag if they want to. Of course, he's in charge of the creature commandos, but
Mm-hmm.
still, I think that'd be kind of a cool way to do some storytelling. Of course, I think with the controversy of Team Achilles, that's not going to happen, but doesn't mean they can just borrow the idea and maybe go with post-human division and make that their kind of a Team Achilles type of team.
Mm-hmm.
So something like that. Of course, Wildcats, but that's going to be maybe just see some characters from Wildcats come in. Grifter, Team 7. I would love to do Team 7.
Yeah, like a proper Team 7, not like the New 52 Team 7.
No, I mean old school.
Yeah.
The original, was it the original 7 team members?
Yeah.
And that could, that'd be could be a great like, great military horror limited series, or
Yeah.
or a couple seasons, because I think that went three miniseries. I think they did Team 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
3.
so you could maybe 2 or 3 seasons out of that. What else?
See
Team
that?
13, possibly.
Yeah.
But they got.
I feel like DC has not known what to do with Gen 13 since when was the
Oh
last time
no,
they had a proper title? Was
that
it
was the World's End, I think.
yeah, when Gail Simone wrote them, like that was the last time. Ever since then, it just feels like they don't know what to do with them, and it's such a
Well,
shame
because
because
they're so entangled with Wildstorm lore with Team 7
hmm
and all that, and then it was Ivana Bile, going after the Team 7 kids. So I think it's a weird pull to do, or a hard thing to do, because again, they're so stuck in that lore. to
hmm
to write them fresh without all that, it just kind of is like, why don't you just do something else?
yeah.
So I don't know. It's I think it's hard to take stuff from another company without the lore. I think like Apollo and Midnight are easy. They were military experiments. They broke free. Not much to their background, because they don't have a background, because when they were created or they volunteered, their entire history was erased. Their name, their history, everything. They were just always Apollo and Midnighter from that point forward. So same with the engineer. Not much of a background. She was a scientist, super comic book geek, turned superhero. Jenny Sparks, this apparition, century baby who just kind of floated through time. So I think the Authority is probably the easiest one to insert, because their characters' histories are not entangled with the lore of Wildstorm for the most part.
Yeah, and I did
Other
see it.
other than Stormwatch.
Yeah, I was gonna say I did see that James Gunn kind of teased the Wildcats when he was posting that he was reading. I think it was like the James Robinson collection or something.
Mm,
Um, and I was like, my mind automatically went to TV series. Like I think they would do well as like an HBO Max series. I would love, of course, the movie, but I'm just thinking practically. Like I just think they would do better as a TV series, and there's a lot of things you can introduce there. Again, it's so funny how I keep pointing back to Peacemaker. So many things they put in there that
yeah.
are so much more important as it's branching out. Um, but yeah, and then I guess it's so funny. I was just thinking about Creature Commandos, and I'm like, yeah, you could easily put Wetworks in there. I'm like, oh, we have yet another thing with liquid metal, and
Oh,
it's
that
like,
works.
so like I wonder how that would work, or they
Oh, that
change
would
their
be
look to it.
actually Wetworks would go great with creature commandos, werewolves, vampires, the creatures of the night.
Yeah, keep it
Um,
animated, obviously.
yeah.
So,
Oh, dude, I would be all for that. Totally forgot about Wetworks.
hmm
Um,
yeah, and but yeah, I think those are probably like the main ones. There's one last thing I wanted to show off here. I almost
mhm.
forgot about, but a little trivia for y'all. Let's see. Hopefully we can see this here. Is it showing? Is it showing your cover?
No, I have
No.
a.
Oh,
There it
okay.
is. Yeah, I got it
Yeah.
now.
So, if you guys didn't know, Chris is a legit writer for
Uh-huh.
Wildstorm.
Oh,
He had this
you
issue
put.
released in 2000,
Stop
2000,
it.
what was it? Was it
Uh,
eight?
Whenever it was before they launched the new World's End stuff.
Oh gosh, so that was a little bit no, that was two. I think pretty sure that was 2008. But yeah, this is Wildstorm Universe number 0, and Chris got to
Yes,
write this.
it's probably my first and only paid gig for comic books that I ever will have and probably ever will do. That oh yeah, that was. Did I ever tell you about that?
No, I was about to say, tell us the
Oh,
story. Yeah, tell us
oh
how
god.
this
Okay,
came about.
so yeah, way back in the way, we were on the Wildstorm boards, and we were all heavy into it, and you know, we had like Ben well, before that we had John Layman who could pop on there, other writers, Ben Abernathy, Chad, Chad Cheswick
Oh yeah.
would pop in there, and of course when they were doing we had some of the writers for some of the other stuff would pop in here and there. So anyway, so unbeknownst to all of you guys, I kind of had some correspondence with Ben Abernathy here and there, stuff like that, and I would get some of the the really rough comics from some of the stuff like in PDF form, really really rough things, and so I got to read stuff like months beforehand, and hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, not that my opinion means jack squat, but not that I say, oh, this is terrible, you should not do that. No, no, it's just like he said he wanted to kind of get my opinion on it, and I was like, I say, hey, this is good, or it's okay. I'm trying to be honest and not trash anything because not to say any of it was trash. I'm just saying I tried to give my honest opinion when I could and about stuff, but try to stay positive. But anyway, so they're doing the World's End kickoff. The whole thing. He goes, "Hey, how would you like to write the insert for it?" Oh, sure. And he goes, "Hey, we'll even pay you." Like, hey, even better. So anyway, I had to write it on Stormwatch, Authority, Gene 13. Oh God,
Wildcats.
Wildcats, and I don't remember what the fifth one is. It's been a while. Anyway, I said okay, and then I'm like, oh crap, a lot of, and I had dark spots in my memory, so I went and a lot of my Gene 13 collection stopped after a while because I lost it in a couple moves. So I had to go back. I had to go hunting issues to do all the stuff to write up these histories and all that. I really didn't get much to it. He just said, "Hey, write up the history of each one of these things. All right, cool. And he goes, you got, I don't remember how long he told me, like 2 weeks, week and a half or 2 weeks to get it done. I'm like, all right, cool, I can do that. And then I'm like, well, crap. Now I have to actually write all this stuff up, and I have to go back to Wildcats history, Gene 13 history, Stormwatch, and Authority. I had down pretty pat, and I don't remember the other one. And so I'm writing all this up, and I'm giving him, rough, and I have a job, a real job. So I'm coming home writing this stuff up, and real quick, and so he's like, I wish I still had the emails. I could tell you, I could remember it better. But he's like, hey, we need you to, we need these in like 5 days, not 2 weeks. I'm like, well, what? Because and it's like nothing. I know it's not bench toys because he was apologizing, and also they and I said, okay, fine. You know what? You're not getting the goods. You're getting rough drafts because I thought I was going to write everything up and then proofread it, clean it up a little bit because I thought I had 2 weeks. We can have 2 weeks. So hey, I'm like, Ben, I'm just going to tell you now. I can send you what I have, but it's going to be stream of consciousness trying to put everything down. I was going to clean it up later. He goes, that's fine. Just send me what you got to clean up with it. And so I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. And so then he comes like, oh yeah, got it. They are not going with everything you wrote up. They're cutting a lot of this stuff, like because he wanted like full history. At least that was the original intent. Whatever from like the original. All the stuff that I could put in there. And I was going on the Wildstorm wiki. I was going on to the regular wiki. I was trying to remember as much as I could and whatever to get this down. And then again, I was going to like the first week was just going to be stream of consciousness. Every day was going to be a different title. So it was Authority, the Stormwatch, the stuff I can bank out quicker and then slower and slower. Anyway, they said they just completely butchered. They cut it down really to like paragraphs and stuff like that. Like, oh well, that kind of sucks because some nights I was up to like 2 or 3 in the morning trying to write, all this stuff because again I was working and I had real life, so I was trying to do all this stuff. He goes, so I would understand if you would want to. We're gonna still pay you, but I understand if you want to take your name off this. I'm like, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I am never going to get this opportunity to again leave my name on there. So anyway, so the paragraphs are much more concise and smaller than I originally put in there. So I still got paid. I get $250 for the write, and I scan that check and I have it somewhere. So I have proof I got paid by DC Comics for writing a comic book, and that's what it just kind of came up just to kind of as a thank you for all the goodwill I did for the boards and trying to keep basically it was kind of just throwing me a chance to do something because I apparently was very prevalent in the boards. My name was people. The one thing is they said people at Wildstorm knew me. I was like, Jim Lee knows who I am. I mean, I got a like this 6-inch by 6-inch inked inked engineer and Hawksmoor with Jim Lee on there. Wow. So thanks, Striker. I'm like, oh,
that's awesome.
And it was penciled by Dustin Nguyen and inked by Jim Lee, and I was like, holy crap, Jim Lee rarely inks anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like probably one of my prized possessions. I'm going to be buried with that thing.
No, that's awesome, man. And that's why I wanted to show this off. I actually had this idea when I was doing the videos on here more regularly that I was going to give you your whole show to focus on this, but I don't know that that
Yeah,
was ever going to happen. So I'm like, now's my chance to to
it
to
doesn't
go.
deserve its whole show. Uh,
I don't know. I think it would, but
but
I just
it was fun to do that. And, oh, and I think I was talking to you before we started that they said, "Hey, you should come down to," because they're doing the big San Diego Comic Con thing. And they said you should come down, like, and it was like super last minute. And I was like, and I did couldn't go or something. I couldn't make it down. I don't remember what it was, but I wish I had gone. And it would have been
mhm.
for one day because I would have sat at the booth, behind the booth with all of them, got to hang out with them. Like, oh, I'm kicking myself ever since.
Yeah, that's what
You get signed stuff like, who's going to want my autograph?
I. Hey, I was just gonna make the offer. I was gonna tell people there are still copies here on mycomicshop.com that y'all can buy and send to Chris and he'll sign them. Well, not
Oh,
the
yeah, because I
second
want a
part.
bunch of strangers sending me their
I
stuff,
know what you're gonna
going to my home
say.
address.
No, we're gonna set up a PO box for
There
you.
you
Okay,
go.
we're gonna do this the proper way. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
don't worry, we're not gonna give away your location. But
So,
anyway, yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
man, seriously, that was
that was
so
a hoot to
cool.
do. Yeah.
Um,
Um, you know, um, Yeah,
but
and you know what? Everybody at Wildstorm was. I mean, they were on the boards. They're
mhm,
so nice, and we got to meet a bunch of them, hang out with them,
mhm.
drink with a couple
Yeah,
people.
yeah, that
Uh,
was Comic Con 2010. So
yeah, got to meet Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica, and because he
mhm.
was there with Tom Taylor and his crew,
Yeah,
and then Beach. What's his
Adam
first name?
Beecham.
Adam
Yeah.
Beechin.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that, and then of course, all the other people from the boards who had showed up for the Comic Con.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're fortunate to have got to experience that. What we didn't know at the time was one last time. But
Sadly,
yeah.
yes.
But hey, we're still going, we're still here, I remember you used to use the image of was it Freddie Mercury going like this all the time? And you're
Yes.
like
Oh,
you're
the
like that
yes,
that
it was,
encapsulates the Wildstorm fans.
yeah, the Freddie Mercury. I think at Wimbledon where he had or it was
Yeah.
the statue of Freddie Mercury. One of those two where he has the microphone up in the air.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but cool, man. Well, yeah, I just wanted to give you a chance. Oh, go ahead.
I was
You
just say,
got
hey,
something?
if and when we get an Authority movie,
Hmm.
or even just they've started announcing it, I would happy to come back with you and Ben and geek out about that.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah, no
certainly I would
doubt.
geek the hell out of that.
From here to there, maybe the next video with the schedule that I have,
That's
which is
fine.
a no schedule.
Yeah.
It's just I guess what people don't realize, and I've never really vocalized it here. So here's your little insight is that, obviously when Ben and I were doing the original podcast, this is not on YouTube. This is when we were putting it on iTunes and all that, and
Mm,
it was coming out. He had just had his first kid. I was actually freshly divorced at the time, so I had a lot of time on my hands. And so, we got to do it for that chunk of time. And then, of course, Wildstorm would come back and it would go away. And then we would come back. By that time, Ben had like two kids. And then,
mm,
so life just kept going. And, when the pandemic happened, that's when I was like, well, now I had our first child. And, that's when I was playing around making videos. And that's where all the early videos that are on this channel came out. What I call the semi-animated comic reviews, where I did some of the early Wildcats issues, some of the early Stormwatch issues, and just, real simple animations, the panels switching and stuff,
yeah.
and trying to narrate, even though my voice is not the best narration voice, but oh well. But it was just something to do during the pandemic, and then as we were
Yeah.
coming out of it, it just got harder and harder to do those, and even just trying to get Ben, to have time and myself to just do so we could talk about stuff like Jenny Sparks and whatnot, and and even the Wildcats run, that happened recently, we weren't that excited about. I mean, I liked aspects of it, but I think that was part of it too. And then we started making our own comics, me and my wife, which I just realized my wife's name is down here. Sarah Childs is my wife, in case y'all are
Yeah.
wondering. But yeah, so it's just, it's one of those things, like I always told myself, the channel's here. Whenever we want to come back to it, we can, just stuff like this and just have fun, because that's what this has always been about. And that's why I am so thankful that just loving not only this hobby, but this particular universe that doesn't exist anymore or exist in a different form, that I get to meet people like you or Ben or
Yeah.
lots of the other people that I've interacted with. So that's why I never say anymore, this is the end or this is the last episode, or it's just going to keep going, as long as we have stuff to talk about and having fun. Like you said, yeah, if the Authority movie comes out, we will absolutely call you
Or
to
if
come
it,
back and have a
or heaven forbid they cancel it, then we can come on and we just rage over that.
yeah.
Because
Anyway,
really, I want to see that in the theaters. I will see that 100 times if I have to
oh, I know,
to
right?
make
Yeah.
it profitable.
I'm buying out
Uh,
this whole theater. Everybody just
exactly.
so start saving up now.
hmm So,
Oh, cool, man.
final thoughts on
Sure,
engineering,
go for it.
just real quick. So, again, I didn't care for the aspects of it, but it's kind of her bit of her origin story. This is our first foray. So, I'm willing to give James Gunn the benefit of the doubt. I've seen what he's done in Guardians, and he probably has the perfect trilogy as far as Marvel movies that I'm concerned. Other than maybe seconded by Captain America's trilogy with First Avenger and then Winter Soldier and Civil War, which I don't know. That seemed to be an ensemble. But anyway, regardless, I really like his Guardians of the Galaxy, and so I'm going to put my trust in him that this is just our first foray into her origin, and we'll get hopefully maybe something a little bit more akin to what she was in the first 12 issues of the Authority. You know, but we'll see. And then I'm really interested in seeing what they do with the other characters, because they're going to have to change the backstories for at least Midnighter and Apollo, unless they want to connect them to Luthor. He was part of one of their experiments, and they said, "Well, no thanks." And they kind of they escaped like they did with Bendix and just hit the road and just went underground for how many ever years.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Lucy's going to be blamed for a lot of stuff or tied into a lot of things in this. So, but yeah, man. So thank you all. If you listen to us talk for the full hour, thank you for staying here to the end. Be sure, again, because we don't post that often, be sure to subscribe, and apparently hit that bell is the newest thing to do, newer thing to do on YouTube. So
You
hit the
get that
bell.
notification
Yeah.
to you've uploaded a new video.
Even though I swear to God, my notifications come like the next day or two later, and I'm like, oh, no wonder nobody's watched it yet. So anyway, thanks again, guys. Thank you, Chris, for coming on, and
Yeah, anytime.
we will talk to you guys next time. Until then, stay wild.